So this podcast is a big performance podcast, and I have this beef between productivity and performance because productivity is like a niche. People think about productivity as the only thing that they need, but I found that it resonates with me that productivity consists of four simple elements that people overindulge in. So having enough sleep, eating right, exercising, and meditation. And people go too deep in some of or one of those and think they will uh, be productive. And what it even means, being in a state where they are functioning right. And performance is about what you actually do.
Yeah. Yeah. You only need, you see the results, right? But you don't see all the things that need to, you need to get there, right? The result. And usually blame else or you're on the focus or something like that. And it's like, actually, you need to do a lot of things. Well, just focus. You need to be relaxed or well rested, example, to be actually really good.
So for me, performance is the next step. When you have your internal resource and you are in the right state, what you actually do next defines your success and how helpful are you to other people. So that's the premise of the podcast. And it being an interview podcast, my first question to you would be, how did you end up doing what you do? What is your story of becoming?
Becoming this. To be honest, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I started in university with English studies. I did a degree on English studies. And because I wasn't really sure, many people with 18 people were 18 when they finish high school and everything, and they need to choose degree. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And at that moment, I liked languages. So that was like the option that I decided to take, like, the languages and that's the degree that I was available. And I just jumped into it. And yeah, and when I finished, I realized that I didn't want to become an English teacher because that was mainly the only work that you can get with that degree. And I decided to step back and go to things that I liked when I was younger. Was growing. From then, I started like doing illustration course, drawing courses, stuff like that, and end up like doing a 2 years illustration course that took me 3 years to enter. That's like a really because there's not many things related to art that are free. Most of them, need to pay, or all the listeners pay. It's like you can find, like art in the degrees and in the careers in universities, but those are usually really big. Like, implies a lot of things.
Broad overview, not the like specific skill that they're giving.
Exactly.
So to get
like fine arts,
go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And those specific skills, usually if you want to do a test, something like that, it's usually like expensive. And I didn't have money, so the only chance that I could have it to fly to this course, which is free. But because it's free, so many people doing the test or the exam to answer. They took me, as I said, like 3 years to do it, and I wasn't really good fast. I was really like stubborn and into doing it. Yeah, I finally did it. The 2 years course. I decided that I wanted to do some animation. I had no idea how to do animation. I really liked animation films, like Ghibli movies and all that in animation style films that you can find. But I didn't know how to do it or anything like that. I was just, like happy to jump, jump into it and do it. And that's what I did. I just basically did my final project in animation when I had no idea. And it came out really well and people really liked it. And it was like the first push for me to actually realize that I was doing what I wanted to do, which was, animation and all the like motion related. So yeah.
Right. That's interesting because I was wondering how does become an emotion designer just jumps at you for some reason in your work. Like you're like, oh, I want to make this thing jump. And
Yeah, movie.
so it's
When did you start? Right, when you click. Right? Yeah.
yeah.
And for me, it was, as I said, it was kind of or like really organic in some way because I was doing illustration. As I said again, I'm not really good at drawing just because I didn't spend as much time as some other people drawing. And but I was having fun and everything, and then I realized that actually, if I make the a drawing like 100 times and then make it in different postures, it's gonna move. And then because animation, if you think about it, it's the basic, the most basic thing that you can think of. It's when you were in high school. Have you ever on the corner of the notepad or notebook or anything? You ever like draw a ball or something like moving around, and then you flip the pages of the notebook, and then you see the ball moving.
I was mesmerized by people who could do it because I've done two drawings. They did not seem to create the same effect of moving. I flipped two pages and I basically got tired of it.
Like, no, it's not for me. Now, I mean, definitely you need to have patience into that because you're gonna fail a lot. But that's basically, the basics of animation.
That's cool. And now that you are a professional in the niche, how happy are you with the way that you commercialized this skill set? So do you like the client projects, or there is something that something that you do just for yourself and something that you do for money in the professional life?
I I think I read this once. I think it's really accurate. That I mean, when you want to become an animator or a motion designer or whatever you want to become, you will have in your mind like when I get there, I'm gonna have you know all these amazing projects, and it's gonna be all the time like really good and everything. It might be like this, but it depends a lot on what the time, the projects that you do. There are some projects that you're gonna love. There are some other projects that you're gonna hate, and it's in the same skill. You say seal, right? It's animation. You'll probably have some of them are cool, some of them are not. But you have to do both of them because at least I think at the beginning when you are studying, you need to do a lot of things that you don't want, like motion related, at least for me. But it's a good experience in some way as well. It's the more that you do, the better you're gonna become, and the better you become, the more options that you have to choose among the work that you can do. Right? If you are really good at what you do, you're gonna have more chances to select the type of project that you want, and that only comes when you have done a lot of projects that you don't like. I'm not really sure if you can start by in the beginning by doing whatever you want, at least professionally.
I found it very problematic for myself as how we have been told, oh, you need to find something that you enjoy doing, find something that you feel like doing. And I was like, all right, yeah, I will explore the stuff. So I was trying
Yeah.
a little bit of time here, little bit of time there. But then after like more study, when other people said, Alex, you're passionate about what you do. How do we find our passion? I'm like, I will get back to you on that, Edge. And I saw that there is another way. It's not like you need to find it. You only can become passionate about something that you are good at. And to become good at something, you need to do it for a lot of time. And you need to fail a lot, learn it, and then become good at it. And then you become passionate about it. So it was completely broken. It was a broken advice that thought in my childhood about, oh, find your passion. No.
Yeah. Is that actually you're passionate potentially everything. So it could become potentially everything. Like if you spend the right alongside.
that you become good at, you start to enjoy because you see how good you are. Then you start seeing how the thing that you're doing in the field where you're good help other people and they value it and it's valuable. It feels good. Yeah, you become passionate, but it's not finding. It's becoming good at something.
For me, to be honest, I think it's a kind of a mixture. I think you need to have that first, like love at first sight that you might have with some skills, something like that. And then after that, because, no matter which field you enter, you're going to face problems. You're going to face things that you don't like to do. You're going to, fail in some ways. So I think it's just a matter of if you like what you're doing, for starters, right? You start with some new skill, you like it, you start working on it, or perfecting it and getting better at it, and you're gonna face a lot of problems. So it's up to you if those problems are gonna be, like big enough for you to leave that skill and not going back because maybe those are things that you don't want to do anymore and a problem that you don't want to solve, or either those are problems that you need to face. And it's actually like, yeah, I think I can continue doing this, even though it's going to have a lot of problems that are going to come to me. But I think it's worth it, right? I think that's the main thing. It's worth it at the end of the day. All the problems that you are solving, and all the struggle that you're doing,
Yeah,
I think worth it for you.
it's interesting. You're saying that there is some initial impulse that you need to catch that will help you move through this like struggles and through failures to on this journey to become good. What is your unique and fair advantage that helps you get through it? First thing I know is that you have the patience to get off a lot of the same thing that changes a little.
Over and over again. Yeah.
I ain't got that kind of stuff. So what's your thing that you innately already had? So you managed to grow into motion design.
First project that I did, think that this thing that made me change like my mindset was to finish something, right? Because how many times you've been thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve this new skill and I'm going to do this new video, do this new song, do this, whatever you want to do, right? You might have thought about that a lot, but then one day you put all the effort into something and you end up doing, and you end up doing your first song, first video, your first animation, your first illustration, your first program, your first app, whatever you want to do there. And then you realize that that's the thing, right? When you finish something, you know that you can, once you've done it once, you know that you can do it twice. You can do it 3 times, 4 times, whatever, many times as you want. So it's just a matter of knowing that there is an end of the tunnel. It's not in some way for some projects. Like you can actually produce something, but you need to do it once in your life. So that I think that's why it's so important sometimes not to be so perfectionist things, because sometimes we get stuck in that middle part, right? Like you start wanting to do something, and then you start, as I said, right? You're gonna face a lot of problems, and you need to overcome those problems and say, okay, yeah, those are there. Maybe I can solve them. Maybe I cannot solve them, but maybe I'm just not needed to be solved. And then the most important thing is that you need to finish that. When you finish that thing and you see, you look back, you can see all the things that you've done and all the things that you've learned. And it's like, actually, I did it. It might not be the result you wanted, right? It's not going to be the perfect thing that you were imagining in your head, how it's going to look, how is everyone is going to be super impressed what you did. Maybe not, but you did it. So next time that you do it, you're going to take into account a lot of things that you learned in this first journey, and you're going to apply that. So it's going to be easier. that you try to do something else. And I think that the thing, right? Once you realize that you can finish things and that you have done it before, you could do it again in the future.
Cool. So you're talking about this like achievement,
Yeah,
seeing that you got there, this release of like the tension because you are thinking about the project, and you have this dance between your expectation of the end result and production issues that arise while you're working on it.
exactly.
I failed to meet my highest expectations, so I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
I never learned how to draw because of this very reason. I was like, the picture in my head is so much better than the thing that I managed to achieve. So I'm not ever touching the
yeah,
cool. So it's like a dance where creative people learn how to move along with the material and being more responsive to what happens inside the project, not only what is the final result.
yeah. You definitely need to be flexible. I think. I mean, you need to, but that maybe just in general, right? In life, you need to be flexible. You cannot really, if you think in yourself in the future and you are really stick to one thing, to only one possibility. I mean, it's really good to have such a nice focus and everything, but I think it's always good to be flexible in the way of, I might change my mind at some point, right? You might, it's, well, that can happen for a project, for a personal project, for example. You want to do some animation, music, or with something, you know, but then you have this thing in your mind, and then when you start with the process, you face that problems, you face those things that make you like switch, change, and then you know it might change later, but then you might find some middle ground, something like that, where you end up, and that middle ground might not be the expectation that you were having in your head, like that's that great thing, but it might be something else. It might be something even better, or I don't know, but something something else. And then actually good if you were able to like drive through and accomplish that. Well, no, I think that's actually good.
While I was thinking about what you're saying, I am recalling the work that you've done that I had a look at, the music video where it was there was an artist and you
Was it?
motion design of those like fancy elements that fly into the screen that interact with the hero of the video. That was super cool. And from my perspective, I cannot even try to not look it as a perfect cut. I can
Yeah, yeah. You think it's all in one cut, right? Like you do it once, and you knew exactly what you wanted to do at the beginning, and that's exactly what it's the outcome, right?
yeah, I'm thinking like that. And
Yeah, because you only see the final product.
yeah, from your perspective, it might have had like those up and downs where you have an idea, you start working on it, and it does not work, and you change it, and you say, okay, well, we can do a middle ground.
Yeah.
But for me, it looks like, oh, this idea that you had, you implemented it perfectly through the
Yeah. No, 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 I don't think it's usually like that. I mean, it might vary depending on the person. Maybe there are some artists that know exactly what they want, and they're really focused on what they want and what they want to do. Uh, I think that's as many people as they are, they're going to be as many projects and as many approaches to that. But for me, at least, it's always like some kind of search, or you are trying to adapt your thing or your thoughts to reality. Well, your abilities and your skills and your possibilities, time frames, whatever you have in mind. It's it's funny. It's always like that. But the thing is that I never thought on the other part, right? When someone sees just the final product and just thinking like, oh, this person might have had everything planned right ahead. Like, oh, you did a video of 20 seconds or whatever, and it's out. They plan everything. Is that sometimes so? It's actually interesting how can you view things, from one point or another.
And with client work, you not only have your point of view, but there is the client that they have some kind of vision of their own. And this done starts to be more complicated because you have your ideas, client idea, expectations on different side, and then you like dance through the project.
Yeah.
Is your what's your approach to this kind of client communication? How, as a creative, you manage to be good at this people side of your business?
I think the most important thing that you need to do if you're gonna work with a new client, right? The first one that you need to do is just get as much information as you can, right? That you need to be like an actor. You need to think as a client in some way, right? You need to try to know what they like because you might not like what they want or what the style that they use. But I mean, if they have a really clear idea of what they want, then it's really important for you to mix with all those references that the client likes and the kind of videos that they might like or animation they like, all that stuff. It's super, super important to check and to learn in some way, like how this works. Okay, they like this. Why they like this? Or like this? It was like this, or because of the colors, or for so many reasons. And that's one point we would say for clients that know exactly what they want. And then you have, on the other hand, clients that don't know what they want, which are usually the most. And for those, it's obviously pretty important to, for them to express themselves what they might like, what they, just give you as many references as they can with, the style that they like and everything. And then there you have some kind of space, some kind of room to move around. And maybe if they are open to it, maybe you can just put the things that you like, right? And that's like the perfect opportunity for you to show them, okay, so maybe if you want, I have this type of animation. Say, maybe if you like it, we can work on that. And that might be like a really perfect okay for you to experiment and do your own work.
Do you have a trick for the clients that are not sure what they want? They want after you show them the different styles, different things that you would propose, would want to work with them.
I think that the process
will give them this feeling of being part of the project if they do not know or understand anything. Because as a web designer, I know that I need client input on the project 100% of the times.
Yeah.
So they would be happy with the end result.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the process needs to be really clear for you and for the client. The where you are, the stages in which you need to follow. And I think the first stage, which is usually the creative one, because at the beginning it's always ideas. What ideas you want to follow, what style you want to follow, all that bit. It's like a really, really creative bit where everything can turn like really good, really bad, and it all depends on that because the red is just labor, like like working and work. But it's just as if that like makes something that you have in your head turn into reality. But like create that idea is the most important thing, and it's where the client needs to take part and give their opinion and try to give the feedback or references or whatever they have. And for example, for me, what I usually do is first, obviously, what they want. Need to have clear idea what they want. For example, a video, 20 seconds, whatever. And Then if they ask, they should provide some references, like video references that they like, and or some images that they really like and they would like to into motion, something like that. So then we know where to start, because we see if they give you like, okay, we want to do a 20-second video about dog. Okay, that's so open, right? You can do this. How many styles there are, how many type of animations about there are, a lot. So it's always easier to reduce that box. And once you reduce that box, I heard of one person telling me about the diamond process, which was you need to start in the pyramid, and then like this. So you need to start by little with some references that really narrow what you want to do, right? Like, okay, we want dots, and we want, I don't know, this type of style, specific style. So then it's like a really narrow approach. And then what you do with that narrow approach is you open and you start investigating. You start to take references from the certain part. You take the reference that the client gave you and you make something else, or you find something else which is related, but it's something different. So then you go like a lot of new things that are inside that diamond, but it like expanding in some way. So what you do once you have all that, it's like, again, you need to check with the client and pick. Okay, so of all these references you give me, these references at the beginning, I provided you with this. What do you like the most? So they start picking things that they like from you get from that. They like from the reference that you gave, the reference that they have. What's something I need to keep? So then we start narrowing again. So as I said, right, from narrow references, you go big, you go to many things, like many references, many options, and then you start like going again into one. That I think that's a really nice approach. So
That's a great way to look at it. So you're talking about like vision references, then providing the client with this project roadmap, saying here is where we need your input, here is where we need your input, and then this diamond shape defining of creative direction. I,
yeah, spare. I wish I cannot remember the person that told me about this. It was like a really what about.
Awesome. I think that it has a potential to help some people in the creative space to understand better.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of trying and failing, and I think for me that's what helped me. Like, you need to be open to failure and open to make mistakes, and something good might come out of that. So yeah.
Is there a project that you would really want to get? Because this is magic internet thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you say it out loud and people see it on the internet, and give you the project that you really wanted. So is there something that you would, like, particular client or project you would really want to have?
Yeah, definitely. What I mentioned before about the first project that I did was like a music video for an artist, right? And I did because really wanted to do that, and I was really like motivated to start doing that. And I feel like in the last years I've been moving a bit from that bit, and I want to come back to. I always love music, and I like listen to music all the time, and I like putting pictures in my head when I listen to music. So I always thought that that could be like an amazing thing to do, like all the time, like creating like music videos, like things that people watch, and it's like really complementary with the song you are listening to, right? When you listen to some music that you really like, and then you go to YouTube or whatever channel, and you see the music video, and the music video like amazing as well. That makes the whole experience so good, and for me, that's kind of like where I want to get, like to they focus more on the combination of music and animation, which for me it's like, like super amazing because it gives you so much to people, and and I'm not able to do music, so transition.
I think motion design is very well illustrated by what you just said, because like it's not about exclusively visuals. It's the combination between and music, the rhythm, how fast this thing moves here, how the effects that you're making for a music video, how they align with the mood of this particular lyric line that happens in the video right now. And I think I saw that uh, in the music video with this bearded guy speaking the language that I don't know. He managed to get his mood and saw the mood of this music in the effects that you added into the video. It was cool.
I think it makes so powerful that it makes it so powerful to, you can animate, as you say, you can animate just like visuals and that's it. When you combine it with music, when you combine it with sound, it's 10 times better, I think, in my opinion. But yeah. So yeah, it's just not about finding the right thing to do or the right project, or yeah, it gives you so much energy to being able to work on that. And in the end, so everything is so connected. So the same way that when you see someone dancing, like dancing really well, and following the music and the way they move, and it gives you it's like responding to music in some way. And for me, animation is the same. It's like dancing. It's like when like good animation, right? It's dancing with the music and dancing with visuals. That's so cool.
Awesome. I think this would make a pretty great episode. So thank you so much, Victor, for joining me, and it was pleasure to getting to know your side of the career that I never would have had.
Who knows? Who knows? You're always on time.
A bit of this experience of becoming an different professional.
Thanks to you. I mean, I wasn't really sure if I was gonna. Sometimes you get excited with stuff that you like, and then you start talking, and you don't know you're actually making sense. No, especially when we are talking a different language, our native language. So, hope that it was useful for some people, and yeah, that you enjoyed.
Overall, I think it was an interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's always it's always fun to have conversations like these. Yeah, it's just the same that we could have the same conversation that we might have in a bar, having a beer or something like that. And it's fun. That's really good. Just open, and you did the right question also.
Thank you so much. I will press the stop